evening, everyone. It is me. I go by many names, so I'm not gonna go into that because it might take an entire evening, let alone 5 minutes, and I don't want to waste that. So, welcome to the live IG chat with yours truly, and it is simply just me airing my thoughts and talking about things in general, especially on the situation in Singapore and my plans at the moment, as well as in the future. So, as some of you might know, or it is globally announced that due to the COVID 19 situation, most of the places in the country have been shut down. Travel restrictions have been applied, and as a result, it has caused a lot of inconvenience for some of my friends, especially those who are in long distance relationships. And this is one of the major concerns that has been bothering in the minds of some of us. But in the Singaporean context, what happened was that initially we had a circuit breaker, which is equivalent to a lockdown, but they reworded it because the government decided not to induce anxiety and paranoia, given the nature of some of its citizens, unfortunately. It was it was supposed to end on May the 4th, but due to the escalating number of cases that happened, as well as the opening of the Pandora box in which migrant workers were infected with COVID 19, and it caused a huge escalation of social political issues, as well as, unfortunately, selfish people who decided that, hey, this is probably the best time for me to go out and disregard the safety of others and downplaying the fact that COVID 19 is something really serious. In case you're one of those deniers, I hate to break it to you, but it is a serious issue. And there have been deaths, especially in Singapore, unfortunately. And as a result, yeah, it's been extended to June the 1st, which will not be. Oh, hey Valentina, how's it going? Which, yeah, it'll be extended till the end of May. So things will resume back to normal come June the 1st. But it's not going to be a wholesale change, from what I understand. So it will go in phases. So some businesses will open up, businesses will resume as per normal, and it's going to be a gradual relaxation of the rules, so to speak. Unfortunately, there's no news as to when we are able to travel again, and this is something very important to me because most of my friends and my loved ones are not based in Singapore, and it's been a struggle initially, knowing that most of my plans have been cancelled. So I've had festivals and vacations lined up which were cancelled, understandably, and that was the least of my problems because that's how it goes. You gotta understand that this is a pandemic, and if the authorities or organizers have to take precautions, then they have to do their due diligence. Because the last thing we want is to ignite a further widespread of COVID 19. And this has been shown by individuals who choose to contravene those rules and disregard the safety of others. And this is also the reason why the pandemic has been the lockdown is being extended in Singapore. So in terms of my job, my day job, there was some retrenchment taking place, and business have been moved to a work from home order, and that's where I've been spending most of my time at home if I'm not out buying groceries. And it's been a challenging situation for the most of us in the place that I work in because there are those who are not accustomed to working from home, and they see the office as a better or conducive environment to work in. And there are those who have to juggle the fact that there might be family members who have lost their jobs and they have become the sole breadwinner. And there are those with families who now have to deal with the fact that their kids at home and they have to juggle between work and family life. Thankfully, this is not the situation for me because, oh, hey Jad, how's it going? This is not a situation for me because I live primarily by myself. My brother's out working, so he does security, and I barely see him. But when we do, we surprisingly we now have a slightly more harmonious relationship in the sense that when he's back home, we are having dinner together and just checking on each other. And I've been writing to my sister as well to see how she's been. But unfortunately, it's taking a toll on me mentally and physically as well because when you take everything that you're so accustomed to on what you do on a daily basis and now you're being confined to being at home most of the time, you feel pretty restless. And I think this is somewhat of a problem as well with some of my friends as well because they're extroverts. They're people who maybe even those with ADHD, they want to go out, they need to unleash that pent up energy, and now they're just being stuck at home and not being able to do much. I have been trying to get around the whole setback, and thankfully through Nils, for example, from Turbojugend, he has set up a weekly group chat for the well, we call it the Corona Zoom, the Corona, the the Corona party, Zoom party, and I got the chance to speak to like people from not just the Turbojugend, but friends of Nils who are also now friends of ours. So, for example, like Valentina, who's now watching, she's one of those people, and of course, Peppy from Typical Leipzig. She's one of those people I talk to regularly, and I spend a great deal of time with her as well. So, Peppy, if you're watching this, hoi. And it's one of those few things that keeps you sane. The fact that you have technology at your fingertips and the opportunity to talk to people instead of the walls and just checking on each other. And this also goes out to Jenna Fuss as well, for having our own little group chat in Turbojugend. And it has served as a functional tool, not just to kill time in our respective countries, but also it's our way of keeping ourselves sane because all of our plans are cancelled, and there's no knowing when we are able to see each other in the flesh. So that is a huge uncertainty. However, I'm pretty patient about this, even though it's also caused me a bit of anxiety as well. But I would rather have the situation cleared up and have the official word as to when I can head out and travel and meet my friends again. So to those abroad, and if you're watching this right now, I just want you to know that I miss you guys. I'm constantly thinking about you, and this brings on to my next point. So when your hands are idle, what do you do? Do you spend time improving yourself? That's what I've been doing, such as taking up courses on digital marketing. I've enrolled myself in 3 such courses, and I'm using that as a pedestal to pursue a career along those lines in the near future. Because to be honest, I don't see myself being in this job any longer. A couple of factors that have led me to reconsider my position there, and I feel that they are, how do I put it, the colors, the true colors have been shown, and it goes against my personal beliefs and how I operate things. So basically, if you're not transparent and you are very devious in how you deal with your employees, I feel that I shouldn't be working for you guys. So fingers crossed that I'll be able to get a new job in the coming months. If not, actually travel to Germany to spend a month or so with Puffy and catch up all the lost time that we could be spending together. Yes, it does eat me enough from the inside, to be honest, but you try to make the most out of what you have on hand, and hopefully things will get even better in the months to come. So back, not to segue even further, but back to the main topic. My friend Haizam, hey buddy, I know that you're not able to watch this video because you are studying right now. So good on you, buddy. Oh, thanks, Jad. Yeah, fingers crossed as well. I hope that works out. So Haizam asked me a very pertinent question. So, and for those who are based in Singapore, you might be able to understand. So Haizam put it out to me that Singaporeans are an entitled bunch and keyboard warriors who do not have the balls to take issues that they relate to them, that bother them, sorry, to the relevant authorities. And I think what he's trying to say that in this in this set of circumstances, there are individuals that have come out and shown themselves to be selfish in mentality and as well as being very narrow-minded about how they go about doing things and only looking out for themselves, which is a bit of a shame because you would think in this time of need people would just be banding together and help each other out, the community spirit. But there are those who do not think that way. And unfortunately, I agree with Haizam on this. And this has been shown on social media. So point number one, if you have a very toxic lace mentality and a holier than thou attitude, I would recommend against using social media to add those thoughts of yours because chances are, one, you may not get the reception that you've been expecting. And secondly, if you are, I'm going to put this in inverted commas, famous, your star power will go into disrepute. What am I saying? Slow the tongue there. So one such instance was when Atika, I think that's how you pronounce the name. Yeah, when Atika Maslan, who is supposedly an actress for a television channel, who no one has ever heard of, decide to show her concern about home-based businesses in Singapore. And it was ill time because one, it was during the fasting period for the Muslims during Ramadan, and this is the best time in which families, especially those who are very reliant on home businesses to feed their families, and there are those who use it as an opportunity to expand their businesses and they have business contacts that go way back even before like the advent of social media. So you think about like your entrepreneurs, but in the comfort of your own home and without the glitz and glamour and using SEO optimization. Hey, I learned that from marketing. But that aside, so she tried to showcase her concerns about the hygiene and the cleanliness and whether this is allowed in such homes. And as a result, it caused the authorities to look into it and they decided to clamp down on such activities. And this obviously caused a huge uproar in the Muslim community because this is their bread and butter, and you should know better because you come from that community, and now you are just basically biting the hand that feeds you. And this is one such instance in which such keyboard warriors exist in Singapore by and large, where it's basically not your business, or it is something that is an unspoken rule of respect between the community, and you come in, you butt in, and you cause a huge uproar. And thankfully, I believe the situation has been mediated. Surprisingly, it was the president who stepped in and gave her 2 cents, and now I hope those who are doing home businesses, I hope you guys are able to resume with what you're doing, and I hope that your sales are not affected, because it's understandable, like in this time of need, especially those who have lost their jobs or they have to take a no pay leave, for example. Any form of income is important right now, and my heart goes out to those who have lost their jobs as well, because it's not going to be an easy month, especially those who are trying to find jobs in the next few months, because there is a lot of uncertainty in the economy. But on the other hand, I would like to give a huge shout out as well, like a huge applause to those who have made the most out of the situation to constantly reinvent themselves and make themselves better, and be it through learning, continuous learning, picking up a new skill, and even those who are artists, they are releasing music and content and finding means and ways to keep their passion afloat, and this really helps. If you think that music and the arts mean nothing in this current situation, you're dead wrong, because you could really do some entertainment, especially some of you guys who have stuck up your ass. And of course, a little ode to what Heisam said, the entitled bunch of people. So instead of going to the supermarket and hoarding things and creating inconveniences for everyone, or being a Takashi 69 and start being a fucking rat, maybe you should just stay at home and check out artworks or music content or endeavors that are done by talented musicians and artists in general. So that being said, I would like to commend Sean Sundren. I know he's not gonna watch because he's a very busy man. But if you're watching, Sean, I just like you to know that I'm a huge fan of your podcast. Was it Sunday Scenes with Sean? So if you guys go to Spotify, I'll actually send a link when I put this up as a post to the podcast series, and I urge you guys to check it out because Sean touches on a myriad of topics pertaining to the Singapore music scene, and he's in the best position to talk about such things because, for one, he does sound engineering for some of his shows and gigs, and he's in a couple of bands, so he's quite an experienced hand in terms of observational skills, and he doesn't mince his words. Even though if you meet the guy, he's an absolute sweetheart. And aside from that, I've seen guys, for example, the guys from Wormrod, they are doing their own live streams, for example. That's been quite enjoyable to watch. Subash from To Be Known, he has his own side project called Chio Play Game, which he does it with Xeon and Justin, I believe so, and Fias as well. Yes, Fias, if you may know, does a podcast as well, but that has been a little on the back burner as of late. So Fias, if you're watching this, please bring it back. I actually enjoyed it. Like, I love the episode because that's what I've been doing as well. I've been experimenting with dishes and what I do what I do have in terms of correspondence with my sibling is every single day we'll be updating each other on what dishes that we make. So it's becoming a sibling rivalry in terms of who's the better master chef. One day someone's making fried rice and the next day somebody's making stir fried noodles, and the next day, it's a back and forth exchange of culinary rankery. As it stands, my sister wins because she's the better cook. I make food because I'm just hungry, and whatever I make is just out of my own imagination. So speaking of cravings, I have a burning desire to bring up a couple of my old videos and my archives from what I used to do back when So Jad says I should do a live of that. Yeah, I'll try to do a live video of me cooking someday. That'll be quite entertaining. probably a lot of swearing because I probably messed something up. So in terms of, yes, cravings and desires, I've been looking through the archives of my past work in terms of interviews with the counterculture in Singapore. So the gothic community, the rock and metal dudes. Back when we have shows in Blackhole, I was able to find some footage from that. So we're talking about videos from, wow, 8 years, 9 years ago or something. And it's been quite a trip watching those videos again because when I first did it, I didn't think much of it. It was based on, okay, sorry, that was a bit of a delay. It was based on curiosity and passion for local music because when I was a teenager, I was never exposed to any local bands. And that's the sad truth. Most of the bands that I knew or I listened to were either Finnish bands because I have, and I still do, have a huge, voracious appetite for anything that's from Finland or Sweden. Mostly Finland because, hey, I'm the guy with the posters of Vele Valo on my wall, so let's not even get into that kind of dispute. But but I would say that for the majority of my life, I was not exposed to local music in some shape or form, and the first few inklings that I probably had was one through going to Inoki as a teenager to buy CDs, and I came across that shop by chance while just wandering around Far East, and I saw the show. I was like, oh, I gotta check the CD shop out, see what they have, and I met Chan. So he has known me since I was a college student, so we go way back. And it was through him that I was introduced to a couple of newer bands, and he gave me like tips and also the possibility of me like going for a local show one day. But that was unfortunately something that I couldn't do because I was focusing on my studies back then, and I actually had a curfew as well. Surprise, surprise. I mean, this is what happens when you come from a conservative family. My mom was pretty much my regimental sergeant major, so she put a kibosh on that. But when I did manage to go for my first local show, I was blown away by what I saw, and since then I became a huge fan of it. And I started go for shows, and I started checking these bands out. And the best part is like these guys do not come with any reputation or labels. You just go there and watch with an open mind, and it really helps because you are focusing on the musicianship and stage presence as well as the quality of your songs as well, and you learn to appreciate those things. So if you're talking about Blackhole back then, this was the time where I was exposed to the likes of Turbojugend, for sure. Let's see, Stillborn was an up and coming band, which we have not seen their forever being announced as a debut album, but that's never seen the light of day. But those guys have gone on to do remarkable stints in other bands as well. So to the guys in Stillborn, if you're listening to this, I miss you guys, and good job in your respective endeavors. And the other band that I recall watching as well was Arc of Death. So back then it was just a couple of secondary school kids, I would say. Well, I'm not really old now. But those guys were like having jumpsuits, white jumpsuits, and they did like, well, obviously it's still not covered too. And maybe in good time I might be posting those videos up on yes, someone has been to Blackhole as well. So yeah, we're all pretty, oh shit. First and last time. Someone needs to buy Blackhole back. Then we can all relive those moments again. And I hope the alcohol shop across the road is still open because I miss that place. Yeah, I mean, that was the place where I met Ganesh and Robin, Sean and Tina, the Metal Hot people, and they did Metal for a Cause. And that was my first form of interaction in helping out the metal community through Metal Hot. And I've learned so much from them. So, to the guys who may or may not be watching this, I would like to thank you for showing me the ropes and giving me the opportunity to get into the local rock and metal scene. And this has also led to me having an interest in interviewing and doing articles and doing all this social media stuff. Yes, Jen, I miss them too. But back to Arc of Death. So I'm not going to go into any more details because this should be a surprise, but you need to figure out who were the guys in Arc of Death and what they have been up to thereafter. I can tell you that one of these guys from Arc of Death is actually he plays for a legendary Singapore punk band. So make most of that information, if you will. Now, for the second inkling of my exposure with the local scene was when I listened to Vicious Volume by Brother Bo. And this was by pure coincidence. I was just doing my market research. I was just trying to find out if there were any music programs in Singapore that catered to my kind of music. Now, I cannot remember the name right now as to what it was used to be called. It had another name prior to Vicious Volume, but Borhan was still is, the presenter for that show. It spans 2 hours, and through him, I was able to check out other bands as well. And I think it also basically led to my love for power metal in the process. But most importantly, I've always seen Boran as an idol and an inspiration, and he might be a little sheepish about it because I think it's a wonderful thing about local musicians. Like, they do not get it to your head that they are famous. To them, it's, well, this is what we like. This is what we like to do, and we like to entertain people through the music that we play. And when I met Borhan, when he was doing shows, like organizing some shows, I was so humbled and bowled over by how down to earth he was. And this is the guy that is a radio DJ, it's some sort of a big deal, but it doesn't get to his head. But at the same time, I found out that he had a band, and that was called Urban Karma. I've never got to watch them live because, again, I think that happened when I was still not in the local subculture just yet. But that led to Check a Ritual, and I've watched those guys a few times. And it never fails to amaze me that, hey, I'll see you too, buddy. Take care, buddy. And it never ceases to amaze me that he is basically like our Max Cavalera. And he has an amazing stage presence, and I'm also looking forward to the day where he is back on stage again. That will be totally awesome to watch him. So through his show, his radio stations, and this was back when Spotify wasn't a thing, or podcasts, or all of your technological advances. It was his weekly radio show that got me into the bands that I listened to, and I'm very grateful for that, because if it weren't for Boran's radio show, I think I would be lacking in knowledge in terms of the local music scene. And that was the thing, all of these things led on to what I pursued on and off, unfortunately because of adulthood and commitments, in interviewing bands and checking them out and doing videography for them, because they deserve the exposure, and it led me to hone my own skills in the process. And this is something that I'm planning to do as well under York Hill Pride. So that's gonna be my little side project where I'll be talking to friends of bands and uploading all these old videos and maybe have a chat or two and create more content for the local community. And it's important to get that word out as extensive as possible, because our local media is very limited as to what they choose to present. Basically, if you're not one of your social media influencers with shit for brains, but maybe a 5 out of 10 for face, they don't have much of a chance in hell. And this is what I've been saying as well with some of the bands, where it's becoming more of an issue where if you do not have that kind of buying power, if you do not have a gimmick in that sense, you're not gonna get viewerships, and that should never really be the case, especially with rock and metal music, because I feel that talent has to come first. If you're really good at what you do, and you have a please have decent personality. I have to emphasize this because there are people who are kind of egotistical and just get in their heads. So please do not do that. But what I'm saying is that I feel there are other artists out there that do not deserve the recognition that that's not being given to them. And through the side project that I'm gonna unleash very soon, it's gonna be a continuation of what I used to do, and it is to promote these bands and ensuring that they have a platform to talk. And I also love to meet these guys as well and talk to them about their music, and hopefully talk to a couple of legendary or iconic performers and hear their thoughts of or get their thoughts on the local music scene back then and now. So I hope that this will work out. It may not be something that I'll be doing on a regular basis due to time constraints, but I'll try my best, and I'll be posting up links and maybe episodes either through Instagram, Facebook, or it might even lead to a podcast series on Spotify. We'll see how it goes. By the end of the day, this is something that I've always been passionate about, and I still do care about the local music scene, even though I've been dividing most of that time, or rather, I've been devoting most of my time with the Turbojugend. I will always remember where my roots are, and that is in places like Blackhole, places like Pink Noise, places like Substation, or even some small recording studio in Paya Lebar, which I got kind of lost the other day. But it's all about the passion. It's all about what you really love, and music should never have any boundaries. And through this project that I'm gonna kickstart sometime soon as well, I hope you'll extend to my Turbojugend community and be able to talk to them about their bands and their projects, and providing some sort of a bridge between their region to my region, and exposing a couple of good bands to my friends who might even like them as a result. So, for example, Norman and Yeri, they're in a band called Serpents. Pretty awesome noisecore band, or power violence. I think we should call it power violence, ultra violence. It has to be violent, otherwise it's not hardcore. So those guys from Mexico, and they released a second album, and it's a bit of a shame because these guys are really talented, mad talented, but they deserve to get a bigger platform to showcase what they're capable of. And in the very same vein, I got friends in Australia who love to perform in Singapore at some point, but they need to get some sort of awareness of their material, and I would like to do that for them as well. So think of what I'm doing as some sort of a middleman, but without the fees, because I don't need it. I just want to help my friends out, and I just want them to succeed in life, because if there's one thing that I learned about being stuck at home and being cut off from all the activities that I do on a regular basis here, is the fact that I've always got my friends to count on, and these are the people that keep my head up and preserve my sanity. So I'm very thankful that I've got friends like that to cheer me up through their music, through their company, through various ways of entertaining me. And that being said, I want this little project as well to extend globally, in the long run, and still keep it to the premise of promoting the underdogs and not be a corporate stooge, because that's what I do for a living. Having to deal with corporate nutsacks. So let's not even get to that extent. But since we're on the topic of Turbojugend, and I'm stuck in Singapore, as you can tell, in my room, and with photos of the Jugend to the back, what's the plan for the next few months? Well, I'm just waiting to see if I can travel out of the country. I might quit my job, maybe take a a short sabbatical, and I would like to go to Germany, for starters, and be with Pepe, yes. But also at the same time, in between spending time with her, I would love to go to Belgium and the Netherlands as well to connect with some of the people that I'm close with. This is not a knock on the rest of them, but it is just that I'm trying to take baby steps. Most of the festivals are cancelled as it is, so this, I think in terms of plans and such, is really out of the window. So in terms of the Turbojugend, I'm still active. I'm still a proud member of my respective chapters. But I'm also sad by the fact that I'm stuck in Singapore, and I'm just waiting for the perfect opportunity to take the first flight out and be reunited with my family, because I really miss them, and I cannot wait to spend an incredible amount of time with these people, because looking through some of the videos as well, it just brings me good memories, and I think about the crazy times that we had in Hamburg, the the hazy memories in Graz, for example, and of course, how can you forget the crazy Finns? Untouchable. And speaking of madness, this is also an ode to the last Turbojugend event that I went to, that was in Australia for the Australasian World Turbojugend Days. I'm glad that I actually made the trip and fraternize with most of the people there, and spend as much time as possible with these people, not knowing that it might be the last Turbojugend event that I was gonna go in the long time. So to the guys in Australia, you can't. I don't even know if you're watching this, but if you are, I just want to tell you that please give Simo some money. He looks broke, and I cannot wait to head to Brisbane in 2022. Yes, 2022, to party with you guys even more, and maybe roofie Simo, because he's got to roofie me first. That's how it goes. Right, so terrible jokes aside, I think this should concludes the end of this short IG Live video session. It started off in a very serious note because of the current circumstances as to what's happening in Singapore, and a few of you would like to know what was going on in my country. But obviously, this graduated to stories about the music scene and my friends and their projects, and I highly urge you to check them out. And I also hope to be talking to them real soon. So, just to recap, Sean has a podcast, so it's Sunday Scenes with Sean. I'll leave a link. So that podcast is on Spotify. You should check it out. I understand that Bob DeLong from Takeoff has a playlist on Spotify as well, featuring local punk bands. I'll leave a link as well, so you check that out. And Subash's project, Chill Play Game. If you're into gaming, you like see a couple of overgrown men squealing in excitement, watch those guys. they're pretty fun. And lastly, if you like to watch me, I will try to put more content in the near future for your entertainment, and maybe not struggle for words because I'm doing this unscripted, so sometimes it's only natural that you run dry, and this is why I'm not a radio DJ. So, thank you so much for being my interactive audience, and I'll see you guys soon. I'll be putting this up on York Hill Pride as a IGTV episode, so it's part of my learning process. And to end this IG live chat, it's been a pleasure talking to all of you guys, and I miss all of you. Cheers.